And welcome to Ventureprise Presents Small Bites and Insights. We are now focusing this week on research, IRB and Labs. Have a great panel of mix of faculty and students. And as we have stated before, what we like to do is go across campus, highlight different departments, different colleges, and show how we all work together toward innovation and really helping students and faculty make an impact with their research and their ideas. This week have a really exciting crew, so I'm going to go ahead and actually jump right in and let everybody introduce themselves. I'll start off. I'm Laura Smales. I am the Assistant Director at Ventureprise. We are UNC Charlotte's Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. I'm at the foundation of our programming. We do customer discovery, which is we go out and we have our students go out and talk to industry leaders, talk to potential customers, and really find out what the industry is like and what problems they're experiencing so they can really work on an innovation that's helping solve that issue that's in the industry at that time. So we do a lot of different programs, have a lot of different speakers and different things going on, but the basis, we really want to have that problem solution fit and really encourage students to think outside the box and really try to make an impact on campus. So I'm gonna let my panel now introduce themselves, and Angelica, we're gonna go ahead and start off with you.
Thank you, Laura. Hi, everyone. My name is Angelica Martins. I'm the Interim Director of Research Protections and Integrity, and more recently, the Director of our COVID-19 Testing Center on campus. And it's a pleasure to be here.
And Kat?
I'm Kat Runden. I'm the IRB Manager for the Office of Research Protections and Integrity. So I manage and coordinate the university's Human Subjects Research Protection Program, including supporting our Institutional Review Board, the IRB, offering trainings for researchers, facilitating researchers in going through the IRB review process.
And Uzma?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Uzma Khan. I'm the IRB Analyst in the Office of Research Protections and Integrity. In this capacity, I provide compliance and regulatory guidance to faculty, staff, and students who are involved in conducting human subject research. These guidances are based on federal, state, and local regulations and policies. I also conduct administrative reviews for protocols that are submitted through our online system and communicate results with researchers and IRB committee. And I help Kat in in all the other things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Morgan.
This is Morgan Chandler. I'm a fourth-year Ph.D. student in the Department of Chemistry in the NanoScale Science Ph.D. program and working in the lab with Dr. Krilifonen.
Perfect. And Roshanak?
Thank you, Laura. Hi, everyone. I'm Roshanak Ashrafi, and I'm a fourth-year PhD student in Infrastructures and Environmental Systems program. And my research is about intersection of AI in healthy buildings.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys for all those introductions. So now we're going to dive a little bit deeper. So Angelica, we're going to start off with you. So what exactly is that office? What do you do? And let's explain it for those of us. We're in research and economic development, but I really want to gain a deeper understanding of what you guys do there.
So, thank you, Laura. One of our main niches is support research in regards to research protections and integrity. Research protections and integrity go a little bit beyond the research only, but the office has different units that serve different areas of research compliance and integrity. With human subjects, the IRB as the committee and the support for the human subjects protections on campus. We have a unit that work with the animal care and use on campus. So we support research and activities with animals on campus. The other unit is the conflict of interest, where we oversee different aspects of conflict of interest and commitment on campus. We also have a unit that work with export control, with our export control and facility security officer. And we have also the biosafety program with the Institutional Biosafety Committee and the Biosafety Officer within research protections and integrity. We also touch a little bit in responsible conduct research, and we work not that close, but closely with the requirements for responsible conduct research. So all those areas, we have several experts that help manage the different programs and facilitate that everybody is able to do their research and their activities on campus in the best way. More recently, because of our expertise in laboratory that handles biological materials and the biosafety officer, we were invited to help and set up a brand new facility to help the university community with the testing for the COVID-19 using the molecular diagnostic of the virus in the samples. And I'll be able to talk a little bit more about it further on, but those are kind of
yeah, absolutely. No, amazing work. And so Kat, you fall into this. So sort of, I've heard of IRB, I've gone through IRB, I got my master's at UNC Charlotte, so familiar with it. But for those that may be new to the graduate school, or do you, and also do you deal with undergraduates, but you know, what does your office do? What are some of the guidelines, and sort of when does this come into play?
Sure. So the university has policy. We have an assurance with the federal government that basically says that if we have researchers who are doing human subjects research, they will get IRB approval to do that research. So really, to kind of simplify what human subjects research is, if someone wants to do a study of some kind with a person, and interact with them in some way, talking to them, doing an online survey, having any kind of interaction to get information about that person to use for the research, then that person is a human subject, and you would need IRB approval.
And that's and IRB is, we probably should have done that in the beginning, but IRB stands for
Institutional Review Board.
Perfect.
So it's the Institutional Review Board for the Protection of Human Subjects in Research. It's kind of the long name, and just IRB for short. Yes. So that is a committee of individuals who are really tasked with applying the regulatory criteria for approving research that involves human subjects. So it's a bunch of experts that will review research projects. And again, if a project that it could be a faculty, a staff member, a student, and when it comes to students, it would be all across the board. So undergrad, graduate, essentially, if anybody wants to do any research with human subjects, with people, you need IRB approval to do that. And again, mostly that's interacting with people, collecting data about them, but it can also be just thinking about a lot of the work that we have coming out of the College of Computing and Informatics and even the data science program. You can be doing a research project that only involves data, and you are not actually interacting with anybody ever. But if that data is about people, you might need IRB approval. So it covers a wide spectrum of projects on campus.
And Uzma, where do you come in with this? So you're part of this program as well. So where do you sort of facilitate and help Kat?
Forgot I was muted over there, sorry. So I think we're going to talk about the guidelines, and like Kat said, there's many different guidelines, and what I was going to talk about is like any project that come to us, there's like fundamental, pretty basic like ethical guidelines that we look at when we look at projects, and everything all research that's involving human subjects should be conducted in accordance with these three kind of ethical principles that we have, and those are, I'm going to talk a little bit about them, just give a little detail. And so the first one is respect for persons, and beneficence and justice. So when we talk about respect for persons, it's respecting people in dealing with research and dealing with their autonomy, and also dealing with some people who cannot give permission or give their informed consent in being in the study. So it's important for the researchers to make sure they're giving all the information that a participant needs to decide for themselves if they want to be in the research, and if they agree to enroll or they do not want to be in this research. And as for people who cannot consent for themselves, they include vulnerable population or people who are very ill or some children. So there's a very special specific circumstances in place to make sure that they get all their rights are protected, and if they want to be, because they can't get permission for themselves, basically. And then, so the second principle is about the benefit of others, and that's what research is for. We do all of these new things to make sure we're getting new technology, and most importantly, we want to make sure we do not harm people while we're getting this information in, and we're maximizing the benefit and they're minimizing the risk. So any study that's developed, we want to make sure that that's presented to us, we see that researchers are not going out of their way to see if the population is available to them or not, and make sure all the risks are to the minimum, and they're not going out of their way to see how much data they can collect, how far they can go, and then to make sure that the benefits to the participants are maximized. The third is justice, which is kind of like be fair. It's a fairness and equitable population. Just because you have maybe students on campus available that are readily available, we don't want to do all of these different testing on students. We want to make sure we're doing them for a reason, and that the researcher presents to us what the reasoning is behind this. If they're testing something new, we want to make sure it's safe for all populations, not just because it's done on students. We want to make sure it's tested on varying populations, because eventually it's going to be used by all the different populations, then it does become effective. So I think these are some of the most important things that we look at when a project comes into us. We want to make sure they're consenting the participants, the benefits are maximized, minimizing risk, and that the populations being picked for the reason that they're giving us, not just because they're available to the researchers. So that's kind of the most important things that we look at in applications. And then some of I think we had talked about like one of the most important questions, like basic questions that people ask us all the time. And one of the most important things is like, what do I need to submit to the IRB? And so our application is very thorough. It goes through like all the things that we require from them. And of course, most importantly, like if you're doing a survey study, please submit your survey with us. If you're doing a questionnaire, please put your questionnaire so IRB can review and see what kind of questions you're asking, if they're fair. Also recruitment material. If you're recruiting students or anybody else outside in the society, we want to see what kind of recruitment language you're using, and we want to review this before it's being put out there. So that's one of the questions that always comes to the participants. And then another one is, how long does it take to review a study? Because I know there's always a rush of like, I submitted it last week or 2 days ago. Can I get approval right away? You know, so I think
last night at 9. I start tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Where's that?
Yes, that's true. And it all depends on how much information is given in the application. Depends on what category of, these things we apply for. But it starts from 7 days to about 4 weeks to review the application. And of course, there might be something that's not very clear to us, or because all of these projects are very clear to the researcher because it's kind of their pet and they have worked on it for so long, everything seems super clear to them, but it's sometimes not translated in the application. So when we get it, some things don't kind of make sense to us and how it connects to this other part of it. So sometimes we send stipulations back saying, just clarify what you mean by this. And they have to just kind of spell everything out for us to just make sure everything is clearly explained in the study. One more very important question that I always get from researchers is, I submitted my application and I can start collecting data. And it's like, no. You need written approval from IRB. Exactly, you need that saying, yes, now you're approved to go. Because I've had questions researchers ask, I've submitted, can I just start recruiting maybe? Can I put flyers out? And then once I get approval, I will, and it's like, no, you can't do anything related to the study. Yeah, unless you get approval from the IRB. So those are like one of the most important questions, like questions that we get a lot, usually in many different forms.
Absolutely. No, that's it. It's planning. So we're now going to go down to Roshanak, who has done IRB, but she's also done Ventureprise. And I will go ahead and preface this by saying the question that we always get is, because we talk about interviewing, that's customer discovery is interviewing. And so it's where do these meet? Where do they don't meet? What we always want to make clear is when you're going out and doing customer discovery, you don't talk about your research. You don't talk about your innovation. You're going out and doing industry. So it's very generalized questions. So Roshanak, what was your experience? How did you sort of balance both of these and, give us a little insight into what you're doing as well?
Thank you, Laura. Sure. So as you mentioned, these are so different. So my process with the IRB was really helpful for this project. I have applied for the IRB last year and got approval after a couple of weeks. The process of submitting was so time consuming. So, but it was a great experience, like, because I've noticed that the human importance in the research, and it was great feeling that, okay, because I myself participated as a human subject in some research before. Then after submitting the IRB, I've noticed that, okay, that was so detailed and it was great. And I needed to explain so much detail. It even created some part of my research because I needed to go deep on the details. Overall, my experience was hard. Some may find it frustrating, but the outcome was great. And I really appreciated all the details that the university wants from us in this process. So I think that the students shouldn't wait so long for their research to start. Most importantly, they can start the process of like drafting the form. Just go look at the form, what they want from you, and start writing for yourself, because you don't need to submit it at once. So I think that they better start early. And as you mentioned that how did I balance these two? I think like it's just two different parts of my brain. So they didn't have even an intersection or conjunction, because in the interviews we want to be like open, and we want to ask open-ended questions, and we want everything to be casual, and it's so like more informal and relaxing. But in the IRB, because they're human subjects, it's so serious, and how they make the form and they want you to submit it makes you find that it is so serious. So I think these are two different, so different.
And that's something that we always want to, because it's normally you do IRB, you go through this process, and then you go through customer discovery, because it's after you found some stuff with your research, then you come to us. So it's sort of where we always try to make that clear. Yeah, you're not asking the same questions that you would ask in your IRB approval. You're not asking that in your customer discovery. And so it's two different planes. But so briefly, what college are you from, and what are you working on right now?
Sure. I'm from the College of Engineering, and I'm also in the architecture department. What I'm working with is looking at the human health through thermal cameras. And before the COVID, it was about their thermal comfort in the building. Now it's about their elevated body temperature in the building. So we want to do fever detection and that sort of. So what we did in the customer discovery, we were talking about, doing customer discovery. So we were talking with people about who wants to buy our product and how they are using their current technologies to provide thermal comfort for people in the building. But what we do in the IRB process and the human subject testing was working with real people and studying their thermal comfort in different conditions. So yeah, that's like,
yeah, one hand in that. But you just have to know what each other's doing. So now we're going to go over to Morgan. So you're more in the labs, and you're doing, so sort of, where do you come in? What are you working on, college? And I will say, it was funny, when we were talking the other day, she was, oh, I'm from the nanoscience, and I've actually worked with so many people from that department that I was like, oh yeah, I know this. I know where your lab is and all of that. So, but give us a little background, and how did you do your process, and how did you utilize these resources?
Yeah, so our research mostly focuses on nucleic acids, which are either DNA or RNA. And we use those as materials actually to make either therapeutics, which we deliver into cells, or therapeutics to stimulate the immune system, or we can make like a biosensor, like a diagnostic system to detect some sort of disease or biomarker. And so we're very much in the basic science part of it. So a lot of our work starts off in the lab in the cell culture room. So we have like approval to do cell culture studies. All of our graduate students are trained, and we also have a handful of undergraduates who are really skilled at maintaining cell cultures. and looking at the effects of our materials on those. And then we've also gone into animal studies. So we go over to the vivarium. We have a handful of graduate students who work on that like basic looking at the biodistribution before we actually get over to those commercialization aspects of it once we know that our stuff works.
Loved how she got those commercialization aspects in there, because that's when I go, oh, hello, what are we doing? That's where we come in. So, and so it's sort of what we're going to talk about. So Angelica, I'm going to bring it back up to you real quick. So talking about research, innovation, pivoting, really dealing with today's, you know, what's happening in today's, what problems in the world, our community. You are doing something right now on campus that deals with that. So give us a little overview of what you're doing there.
Yes, we had a need and we had a gap because we needed to get control of the testing and be able to do the testing. As everybody is aware, we have a huge demand for testing and the tests are not available. And when they are available, the turnaround time, the time that takes between you collecting your samples and getting the result can vary between 24 hours to 12 days, and getting a result 12 days later, it doesn't mean much and doesn't help much. So the
That's what we'll say is the problem.
Yes.
There's been a problem identified. So COVID brought upon this problem. So that's how we set it up there. So yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And in addition to all the supply chain issues with the tests, the personal protective equipment and all those supplies that are needed for the COVID and for pandemic. So the university leadership, our Vice Chancellor for Research and Economic Development, worked really hard with the Chancellor, the previous Chancellor and the current Chancellor, Dubois and Gaber, and we set up from scratch a brand new facility, state of the art, to do the molecular diagnostic of the COVID-19, which was very exciting, very scary, and we had to do a work that sometimes takes between 6 months to a year in 2 months, basically.
2 months, yes,
2
absolutely.
months.
Because you are, let's go ahead and say you've been up and running, you're up and running. So yeah, this isn't something that's still being worked on. This is the amazing part of it, yes.
Yes, we went live exactly over a month ago. We've been testing already more than 1,500 samples, all samples from the university, student, faculty, and staff. Those tests are available for free for the university community. And it's one of the most sensitive tests that we have. So all the previous laboratory expertise, the facilities to working in containment lab, working with biohazard materials, and all those things, and the expertise of the biosafety officer, and my background expertise in microbiology lab and clinical lab, together with the student health center. It was a very important collaboration because they had the clinical experience for the regulatory side, and we partner with them, and we build this operation where they collect the samples, and we hire a lot of temporary staff and students. So we had also the expertise on campus to help with that, and the opportunity to also give this professional experience to our students. So we have master students and PhD students helping, and they do an amazing job in the lab. So it's been, I don't want to say fun, but it's been very good to work with.
That's what you do. That's your life's work. So it's hard to say, yes, I'm excited when it's something, but yeah, when your work goes hand in hand with something, absolutely. Like you're fulfilling a need. You did something amazing in a short amount of time, all of you over there. So like, that's great. So I'm going to have the three faculty sort of think for a second. We're going to do final thoughts. I'm going to talk to the graduate students for a moment just to talk about timing and all of that. But you guys think about some final thoughts, any other myths that you would like to dispel. But Morgan and Roshanak, I want to talk to you about how were you aware of the process and the timing issues? You know, both of you talked about, you know, you just have to know when to get permissions and things like that. Was it guidance from faculty, or did you just sort of do some research, but sort of give an outline of what you need to look for and what questions to ask and maybe who to reach out to. And Morgan, we'll start with you real quick on that.
Yeah, so I think part of it comes from the graduate program itself. You mentioned a lot of the Nano students have had this experience with the NSF I-Core program. One of our recent graduates, Margaret Kocherga, just launched her startup company last month, Light and Charge Solutions. So there's definitely a lot of potential there. I think because what we're doing is a lot less exploratory and a lot more of building upon concepts that we know to develop more novel materials overall. So there's a lot of just potential there to use that for other things. I think it really also depends on who your graduate advisor is, and when you're getting started with your research, definitely in any experience you're going to be learning hands-on skills and being able to communicate that. But for instance, like my advisor has a lot of collaborations ongoing, international and national, and also a lot of patents that have also been used as startup exclusives. So I know that there's a lot of potential for that to be commercialized and to move on into other avenues that have a lot of effects on others besides just the basic research.
Right, absolutely. And Roshanak,
Sure.
who is actually, I'll go ahead and announce her. She just got approved for the National I-Core program. So she will be doing that very soon. So she's done the regional and now we'll be doing 100 interviews in 6 weeks. So she's got some challenges ahead, but exciting. But yeah, so go ahead and tell us about your pathway.
So excited about it. Thank you so much, Laura, for all your help, and also Devin with the process. It's great to experience already. So about the IRB, I found out first from my friends in the graduate school, because I have this experience that I was, he gave me a survey, and he gave the whole class a survey, and he got really good results. But after a couple of weeks, he was so frustrated. I can't use any of these surveys because at the time that I did the survey, we didn't have IRB approval, and I didn't know that. And it was my first year, I think. So it was the time that I found that this IRB is very serious. You can't even use a survey, not just human tests, but even a survey. And also, I had the chance of knowing Mary before that. She was working with you in the Ventureprise program, and as I was talking to her, she told me that Roshanak, don't wait for too long to submit your IRB, because I'm in the process and I know that it's so time consuming. And I was like, okay, we will do it. And after submitting, I was bugging her so much that, Mary, what did happen? Did you get the chance to review our IRB? And yeah, so I really want all the students don't wait so long, because it really gets a lot of time even for you to draft it and submit it. And also another point that I wanted to mention is the city courses that you want to get the certificate. Get those as well ahead of time, because you need to submit those. It's CITI, please correct me if I'm spelling it wrong. I call it city. And also your advisors and everyone who are in the research, they have to have this certificate. So ask your advisor to get their certificate ahead of time, because they're really busy with their own courses and teaching, and they may not have this human subject experience test before. As my advisor, she was working with engineering and architectural department before, so it was our first human subject test before, so she didn't have this city certificate, and we did it ahead of time, so we won't wait for like our team members to get this one. So I want them to have this in mind as well, and ask their advisors before they start the IRB process.
So I heard be proactive. That's the thing. Speak for yourself, be proactive. So go ahead.
Parallel to each other, do all the tasks.
Yes, absolutely. And so Kat, so in doing this, so I'm a graduate student, I'm not going to publish. Do I still need to come to you?
So it depends. If you're a graduate student who's doing this research or this project for your thesis or dissertation, yes. Okay. If it is for a class project only, so meaning I might be doing this project to write a paper for my course instructor, to maybe do a presentation to my classmates, and that's the end of it, and you will not use the data in any other way going forward, then you don't need IRB.
But if you want to use it, just like Roshanak said, that he was upset because he couldn't use that. So might as well go ahead and start talking to you and sort of getting those thoughts out. Am I correct?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think Roshanak makes a good point that, especially for the College of Engineering and Arts and Architecture, I mean, 10 years ago, there wasn't a whole bunch of human subjects research coming out of those colleges because it was really more College of Liberal Arts and Science and public, College of Health and Human Services. But now as the university, you know, the research enterprise is growing, right? Collaborations across colleges and departments and universities, and really wanting to be more innovative and look for really problem solving and using research to do that. It just means that there's so much more opportunity to learn and develop new ideas, and to do that and test those with people, whether it's a survey or whether it's kind of an intervention or interaction with people, means that you do need to think about human subjects research. So absolutely, we have a lot of faculty who are kind of growing into the world of human subjects research. And we depend on the faculty to really help educate and inform their students. Having said that, I mean, I think it's a great point to start early, to reach out if you have questions, if you're unsure. I mean, both Uzma and I think we really enjoy working with students and kind of doing those brainstorming sessions where we're thinking about what you want to do and trying to help guide you to do it the best way possible for you, but also in protecting the human subjects.
I think, like Roshan mentioned before, the application itself is very helpful to kind of help you figure out some of the things that you probably wouldn't have thought about during the study. So as you're filling this application out, it gives you other things. Oh, I didn't think where I was going to consent them. I was just going to consent subjects, but where do I get them an extra copy? Like just things where the data is going to be stored. All of this stuff, I think it helps you kind of figure things out. And one of the important things is to realize that we're here to help you. And usually they're like, oh my gosh, I really have to do that again. And I think we're just there to help. We're there to kind of guide you. And if you don't need approval, we will probably be like, no, you don't need to do all of this other stuff that you're thinking about. So we're there to help and answer questions and be as helpful as possible. And also we're there for the human subjects also to make sure they are being protected with what's happening. So some of the applications that I read, it's kind of like 2 points of view. I read it from the point of view of the researcher, and then I read it as I would if somebody handed it to me on the street, and I'd be like, does this make any sense to me? Will I be doing this research if I read it and I didn't know anything about this? And so I think it's important for researchers to kind of also understand the participants, who the participants are, and how to kind of make their consent form recruitment to explain their complex kind of research ideas in very simple terms too.
Absolutely. No, that's perfect, because that's two sides, and we always talk about two sides to everything, especially like when you're commercial, you know, so you just have to sort of take those points of view. So absolutely. Angelica, any final thoughts as well on just the process, working in labs, working with IRB, any final myths or anything that you would like to dispel as well?
Yeah, actually, I wanted just to comment also that Morgan work that she mentioned in the lab and with the animals have an institutional biosafety committee protocol approved, the IBC, and the animal care use committee, the IACUC protocol approved for that. So sometimes the research touches in different aspects, IRB, IBC, and IACUC at the same time. So not only the IRB with her project, but in Morgan's case, IACUC and IBC. And just to finish, I just want to say to the audience and everybody that watch us that we are always open for any questions. Please reach out to us. We have an excellent team of experts that are with open doors and open chats and email to be able to help in any question. If you have any concern in your work in the university with any of those areas, always reach out to us. It's always good to ask the questions and address your concerns, then let it go and sit on that. We are gonna be able to help you in any ways we can, and we will look for answer if we don't know the answer. Just please reach out to us.
Yes, and that's the main purpose of this, is just to show how everything interconnects. You know, we're tied to you, we're innovation, but it comes from research, and we want that research to be well developed. And then learning that process of researching helps you with, you know, end up going through Ventureprise launch, doing that customer discovery. So it's all this huge process. There's so many resources on campus that are available. And yeah, start early. You know, let's listen to the 2 PhD students who are here saying, hey, think about it, just think a step ahead and be a little proactive and think about, you know, sort of yourself and what you're wanting to do. And don't always try to skip a step. I think a lot of people get into a hurry. I can remember when I was going through mine, I was like, oh gosh, I've got to do this. And I wanted to start tomorrow. Well, I didn't get it in, so now I have to wait a couple of weeks. You know, you just sort of take that bullet, you know, and say, come on, let's do it. So I want to thank you all so much for giving some great information. Again, this is only supposed to be a little bit. We give these email addresses and websites to ask further questions. And that's what we're all about, is sort of just giving you some insight into these departments and colleges and going a little bit further on your own. Please reach out to me if you'd like to be introduced to anybody on this esteemed panel as well. But also follow Ventureprise on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We always have something up there as well. But I want to thank again my panel. Thank you for each of your insights. Always enjoy speaking with you. And we'll see everybody next week. Thank you.